Boo. Keep an eye out for monsters! Scream! Good idea! You know what? You scream, your dad's gonna come in here with a 12-gauge shotgun. Blow your head off. Actually, I'll scream. Actually, dad's gonna come in here and find Dorito puke all over the floor. What's he gonna say, huh? Wow! Baseball cards. I love baseball cards. Got 'em, need 'em, got 'em, need 'em, need 'em, got 'em, need 'em.
Welcome back to Nikki and John's podcast with our special guest today. She is the best. This is my 18-year-old daughter, and she is lovely.
I am.
And Nicki Minaj. Today we're going to be talking about Little Monsters 1989. Fred Savage, Howie Mandel, Ben Savage, Amber Barretto, and Frank Whaley, just to name a few of the cast there. These kids discover that there's monsters on the bed. The younger brother complains about having monsters. Nobody believes him. So his older brother gets challenged to stay the night in the little boy's bedroom to see if there really is monsters. And behold, there is.
And they've been messing around with this stuff, getting him in trouble.
Oh, no way! I parked right over the right there!
Yeah.
This whole time.
And then he takes them down to this whole underworld where all these kids are now monsters and creatures because they've stayed down there too long and they've adapted.
Yeah, before everything else.
I personally didn't care for it watching it the few times around that I did lately. I feel like it lacks a lot. But it's not a slow movie. It's actually a really fast-paced story and it moves quickly. I'm not really sure why. I just feel like it lags and it's boring.
I feel like it does move. It does move too quickly, I think. And I understand why they're trying to move it quickly, but they're leaving out steps along the way to make it make sense. What are your thoughts, Ashley?
I mean, I agree with you guys. It's different when you're a kid and you're watching because it's like, oh, monsters. But now it's like, monsters, like, no big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because I remember this as a kid. I thought this was a great movie. Now rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, this movie isn't that good.
Yeah, what's
like
going on?
it lacks plot holes all over the place.
Yeah.
And which brings me to my first note. What is up with the dad? Why is dad so mean to the kid?
Right, so before I got in the car, I went around and put the bike there myself. Forget it, Charlie.
And then all of a sudden he's tickling him and touching his thighs and it really weird sexual manner like. And then he's mean to him again. Then he's like, hey, get on my back and piggyback. What is up with that?
Something to think about. It's a little gross.
Weird. I'm not even really sure why Howie Mandel said yes to making this movie. I mean, he's fun and all, but some of the stuff he talks about in the movie, I think, is a little risky for being a kid's movie, like over-the-shoulder boulder holder,
Right.
and other simple comments, like just little things that he's spitting out during this whole like spewage of stuff he's saying. Once you actually realize some of the things he's saying, you're like, can he say that in a kid's movie?
Yeah, when you're older, you're like,
Yeah, it's a little strange. You know, we went into this going, oh yeah, I remember that movie. It's really good. And then we watched it and we're so disappointed. And it's so funny because Ashley used to play that movie all the time. But then she must have liked something about it as a kid. But now that she watches it, she's kind of like on the same side as, yes, you know.
Yeah.
A little different.
It doesn't feel the same as it did, right? Like,
yeah, it lost its pep somewhere around where you matured. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, this is lame. But it reminded me so much of Monsters, Inc. in the beginning. I know you guys don't agree with that, but I felt like it was Monsters,
I can
Inc.
see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Monsters,
it's just like the opening scene with the kid in the bed and he's screaming monster, and it's like, woo, system alert, or whatever it is.
I get that. Monsters Inc. was just done so much better, though. Like, it holds up as a much better plot and storyline. It makes sense. Like in this movie, okay, you got the bully. I think it's really funny that they, changed the apple juice to pee and
Yeah, that is funny.
the tuna to cat food. It's great. But why is the bully with them at the very end? As part of their team to fight them? Like, when did that happen? There was no scene to like talk to each other to bring him in. Like, did they delete that scene and go, oh, we don't need that? It'll make sense. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Why would the bully be the friend and laughing and joking with them and smiling at the end? I'm like,
That's what I'm saying.
what did you do to the bully? I don't understand. Did the bully like totally transform him?
I just can't. I like Howie Mandel a lot. There's another movie called Walk Like a Man, which we loved. We still watched that. I was fairly recently, like a year ago, and it was still pretty funny. I don't know. I think Howie Mandel, in my opinion, is the only good part for me of this movie because he's so like. Number one, I love the makeup, and I like how the kids, when you go into the underground world, they look more like Halloween costumes instead of like they deformed into these creatures, like that guy with the hump. I like that better because it's more kid-like. You know what I mean? It's like a kid dressing. I feel like that's more of an innocent thing, and I liked how they did that.
Oh, I liked how like when the sunlight hit him, and all of a sudden he grew horns out of his head, and then he's like, oh, but if the sun keeps hitting him, he's gonna die. Like that premise was kind of neat. It gave a reason why the monsters had to stay in the dark, the reason they had to run away before morning. It gave reason to that. It gave reason why all the monsters were really short because they were all kids that stayed underneath there for too long and got trapped. Those aspects of it I thought were really neat and were pulled off quite nicely. Like you said, like the makeup and stuff was done well, especially for its.
Yeah, I loved how Howie Mandel, like he even has like the spots like Sully. I don't know. I just kind of, I kind of felt like. What I was looking at, I was like, wow, that, I don't know. But maybe it's just like.
He pulls that one spot off and hands it to Fred Savage. And Fred Savage takes it in his hand. He's like, yeah, I'll save this for later.
Yeah.
What?
Thanks for the souvenir. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I thought of was when, like, the guy with the hump, like you were saying, he, like, takes the kid's head and throws it or something. I'm like, man, like, I watched this. That's kind of like,
but it's like
caught me off guard.
I would like to know how all the other kids got down there and stayed there so long without running into that guy like Fred Savage did when he was down there with Howie Mandel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they did because Boy, the big baddie, wanted them to stay, and got his crony, whoever I forget his name, hump guy. But I love that joke when he says hump and he's like, did you just say hump? And then he's like, no, back. And he's like, did you just say back? And I'm like, oh. Me and my wife were watching this and she had never seen it. She had just seen clips of it before. And she watching it, she's like, this is so bad.
Right? Right? I mean, it's like that thing where it kind of sucks, but you keep watching it because you're kind of in it, but you're kind of out of it, but you kind of want to stay to the end. I don't know. I think if I watched it now, I probably would have just turned it off. Like if I never seen it and I watched it for the first time, I'd probably like.
If I had never seen it before, like had any memory of it, knowing about like the P scene and this scene and that scene, like and anticipating to watch that again, I probably would have just turned it off after the first 10 minutes because it just didn't grab me very much at the beginning. As much as I like Fred Savage, I mean, I grew up watching the Wonder Years. And stuff, and that's that same time frame. Same with like Princess Bride. I don't know how he went from doing Princess Bride, which is such a great movie, to doing Little Monsters. Me thinking it was a good movie and finding out it's a terrible movie.
It's a story. I just don't think that they took their time to think it out. It's kind of like blotchy, and they kind of bring in this girl that they like, that likes him and he likes her. Didn't really need to be in there. She could have just been like a school friend, and elaborate more on the backstory would have been good. Because that guy with the hump, I couldn't understand what the hell he said for years because he talks like this. It's like you can't. I never understood what the hell he said. Boy, I never even knew the boy was his name, or that he was important or what his shit was, and
Like
but
they should have backstoried him at the beginning of the movie so that it would come back around and you would know who he was at the end, right? Like,
right, if he's so important, why wasn't he in the movie? He's only in the end. And
yeah,
it's a short time he's there. It's not long.
yeah, he's only in there for like 5 minutes. And then the other weird thing is when they're all getting ready to leave and the Howie Mandel gives him his vest and stuff,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I'll get another one." I'm like, you guys are saying goodbye like you're never gonna see each other again. You realize you could just see each other tomorrow night.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was thinking. I was like, what? Like, y'all can literally, like, that's easy as finding a homeless man and seeing each other. Like,
Yeah. Like, you don't, it's not goodbye forever. It's goodbye for the day so that you don't turn into a monster. You can come back tomorrow night. You know, because if they explained that he couldn't come back or he would turn into a monster, then that would have made sense. But they didn't even say that. Like,
they just
the
said,
only
like,
indication they gave was when the light hit his arm and his sleeve turned into a sleeve and his arm was gone for a moment, or part of his arm was
shriveled up, yeah.
starting to turn into like a monster. That was the only indication of something to that effect. But they didn't really go with that much more. And I think they lost a huge plot hole by not continuing that part of the story.
He still went down there because he had to go get his brother, so that didn't fucking stop him.
Right? And he didn't make him disappear or turn into a monster.
But that's
He
the
still
thing.
made it home.
Yeah, that's the thing. You think that if he would have been more adapted to it, he would have had trouble. That's why he needed those kids. This one girl, she's like stepping back from these saws, which she could have easily jumped the hell over.
That's what I thought. Like, why don't you just step over it and walk past them? Don't let them come at you. Like, literally, there are 4 saws coming on the floor, and they're going so slow. I could be staring at. I could put my feet between them, and they just go past me. I'm like, oh, that's so scary. Oh my god, step over.
you know when he, like, eats the girl's homework? Like, how did boy, did I hear that?
He was too
Like,
mesmerized.
But I feel like you would hear that. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
something.
that's what I thought too. I'm like, how does he? And he says to him later, goes, I told you not to do that. I'm like, no, you didn't. You were standing in the room when you did it. When he did it, you didn't stop him. Knew that he liked this girl. Why would he do something like a prank, something bad to her?
That was a shitty move on his part.
You know,
Bad
that's
friend.
not a very good friend.
I'm sorry, but that one friend that his brother had,
Glasses.
so annoying.
Yeah.
I feel like if I didn't watch it when I was a kid and I watched it now, I'd have a whole different perspective on it. But I feel like the way it was shot then is definitely different from the movies that have been shot now, because it's like all CGI and everything. And there was some stuff in the movie where it was like, oh, okay, you know, like that had to be edited. Like, you're not gonna see
swirling.
Yeah.
I mean, the practical effects, like the makeup and stuff, I think was really done really well. I feel like they put more work into that than writing the script.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You know, they spent a lot of time doing the makeup and stuff, and I guess they thought that would carry the movie over.
You know that one part where his horn is like hanging down? I really thought about that. I was like, it was hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, because he turns so quick.
He
It's
does.
like, how does it not fly off?
Yeah.
You know, like,
It would have been really funny if it did fly off and hit someone in the eye or something.
Yeah.
That would have been very helpful when he broke his
Right?
horn like that. That would have been helpful because
Yeah.
it does this fucking that. It's just like fucking.
I was waiting.
Loved it. If I were to ever meet Howie Mandel, I'd be like, so what are your thoughts on doing the movie Little Monsters now?
He probably doesn't even remember. He probably
He's really like, what movie? I don't remember that.
I don't recall that.
It was long before he was a germaphobe, because if he was a germaphobe at the time, he would not have bumped his head against Fred Savage. He would not have had all that makeup on. I don't know what year he became like germaphobe out to the public, but I mean that's why you only see him do fist bumps and stuff. But that being said, you know, he's very touchy all over the place in this movie. Must have been long before he had that fear, I guess.
If you think about it, Maurice wasn't in there in the toy box thing when they got pushed down there. they probably wouldn't have even gotten out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's like
Yeah,
he's the one that turned into clothes, stood underneath the door.
right. That was actually really smart thinking of the girl, though. Quick-handedly like
Yeah.
that. Think of
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You know.
Minus the saws, she was the only one that actually had a brain. Ghost that said, yeah, girls, go girls.
Right?
Woo!
So I give this movie a 2.8 out of 5. It's quite low.
I only give this movie 1.5 out of 5 stars.
I give this movie 3 out of 5 stars.
All right, so please, everybody, come in next week as we do Donnie Darko, and like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next time.